Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
I did consciously make the list of shows that I absolutely love, but I didn't realize that all of them have very, very strong female characters. You know those questions that get asked to you, who's that one person, alive or dead, you want to have a cup of coffee with? Phoebe Waller-Bridge is that for me. Like I want to know how her mind functions.
Hey guys, on this episode of The Binge List, I'm joined by someone who was discovered on the web and has flourished ever since, which is none other than Mithila Palkar, who talked to me about her favorite shows and how they've impacted her. Hi Mithila, and welcome to The Binge List.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here, and I think it's interesting because I think a lot of your work is on a lot of people's binge lists. I mean, I can speak for myself. I think last year, Little Things was one of my favorite things that I watched, which is obviously on Netflix. And now you have a new Netflix release, which just got announced, which is Tribhanga with Kajol, which is Renuka Shahane's directorial debut. What can you tell us about that?
Honestly, not too much right now, but it's also not her debut, really. She's done a debut in Hindi, yes.
Okay.
But she directed a Marathi film before this. It is a story of 3 generations of women.
Okay.
And Kajol's playing my mom, and Tanvi Azmi is playing. So, yeah, that's the only thing that I can tell you right now.
That's fair enough. I mean, it sounds really exciting, I have to say. I think that would make it your 5th title on Netflix, if I'm not wrong. So when you
I haven't counted, but thanks.
I have. So when you're scrolling through Netflix, to find something to watch, do you ever have that moment of there I am, that's me?
It is surreal though. It's weird also, but yeah.
Speaking of cool shows, I think we should come to yours. I have to say, when I got your list, I was so excited to talk about them. It's such a great list of sort of shows.
So all of the shows on this list all of them have been recommended to me by people. All of them, every single one has been recommended to me. Also, like while I was speaking about Tribhanga right now with you, and I realized I just like mentally went through the list of shows that I have listed out, and I realized that all of them are female-led shows.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize while making that list. I did consciously make the list of shows that I absolutely love, but I didn't realize that all of them have very, very strong female characters. Most of them are female-led. I think, except one show, I think all of them are female-led shows.
Yeah. I have to start with Big Little Lies, which I think at this point, it's like TV show royalty. It really captures the fact that some of the best storytelling is on TV. Some of the biggest stars are on TV. And I love the fact that, it uses that whole murder mystery thing to sort of hook you in, but it really is about parenting and marriage. But yes, why this show?
Big Little Lies, because again, came recommended, and Reese Witherspoon is a favorite. And she's produced it also. And it's a very interesting who done it also. And I've always enjoyed watching murder mysteries, but then once you get into the show, you know that it's not just that. Like you said, it is a very interesting take on relationships, and I think I secretly also enjoy watching twisted characters and twisted relationships, and I enjoy it more as an actor actually, to see how it works with different people, different characters. And it makes, like, I remember having this conversation with a lot of my friends while watching or after watching Big Little Lies, that the parenting that impacts children and what happens to them as personalities, when, like, how it affects their personalities when they're growing up. I think it's probably one of the few things that has Nicole Kidman that I've watched.
Yeah.
And I was blown away.
She was fantastic.
I think the second season especially, obviously there was Reese Witherspoon, obviously there was a cliffhanger. I wanted to know where it goes from. Also because obviously there's Meryl Streep in it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who feel the second season didn't have the same impact as the first, but I think for the 2 reasons, I think that it does work well is, like you said, it's Nicole Kidman's arc and Meryl Streep just being Meryl Streep. Did you in season 1? Did you guess the big sort of not twist, but that final reveal at the end?
I kind of did, but not fully. Like there is always that
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
both maybe second season doesn't hold as much as the first season does.
Yeah.
But I think it plays very well on your
Yeah.
emotions. I think that's what holds.
I think one of the coolest stories with Big Little Lies is not just what was on screen, but it's also how it got made. You know, it's Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman really taking charge and producing something. And speaking of, Reese Witherspoon producing, that brings us nicely to your second pick, which is The Morning Show, which she also produced. And I have to say, I absolutely love this show. It's probably one of my favorite things I've watched in lockdown. It's so fun in sort of taking you behind the scenes of the big news show, but it's also so sensitive and so serious in how it sort of explores the Me Too movement. Why this show?
Again, A, came highly recommended. B, I think I just borrowed a friend's Apple TV subscription just to watch this one show. C, Reese Witherspoon, no prizes for guessing why I would have actually chosen the show to watch. And Jennifer Aniston, oh my God. And the story, and to watch Steve Carell in the character that he is, because you've always known him to be the funny guy.
Yeah.
And then you watch The Morning Show and you're just like, what happened over here?
Yeah.
And yes, like you rightly said, it's so sensitively made in the wake of Time's Up and Me Too. It's so well handled and so sensitively made. That's just the right word to use. And you're just hooked, and I think the finale is just
amazing.
What just happened over here? So
it was one of the best finales. I have to say, I had to rewatch that again.
Absolutely. I absolutely enjoyed it. And I mean, I think it's incredible to see that, all these incredible women are producing these things for themselves and are making it happen. Like, being a female creator, it's very it's important that if nobody's writing a role for you, you sit there and write one and create one for you and produce it. It's just make it happen if you want it to happen. And these women are doing such an incredible job at it. I think even Jennifer Aniston
is producer, If you had to pick one of the two roles, Alex Levy, which is Jennifer Aniston, or Bradley Jackson to play, who would you choose?
Bradley Jackson.
She's a lot more fun,
She is, and she's just unapologetic, and she's out there, and she's like, this is what it is, and you just call a spade a spade.
Yeah. And like you said, it really looks at what it means to be complicit. The fact that, at the end of the day, everyone was wrong in a different way.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Steve Carell. I mean, the fact that it's insane casting. They got the most likable man on the planet, and they made him play this, horrible person. And I'm guessing it must have been a very, very gutsy for him to say yes. I mean, and it just makes you think who here would, which big actor here would take that leap. Do you feel that it's harder for actors here because, there are a lot of other considerations? It feels like it's much harder for actors to be braver with their roles here. Would people be too worried about their reputation to play someone like that who really is that guy?
I think, especially in stories like these, there's something that Parvati had said in one of the roundtables she was in.
Yeah.
The actress Parvati. And she had said that, yes, it's important to tell stories that happen.
Yeah.
It's not untrue, it's not false. But as long as you're not applauding for it, as long as you're not making it a celebration that this behavior is okay or this character is supposed to be lauded.
Yeah.
I think he's done a fabulous job, and I think it's great that he chose to play it exactly for these reasons, that people actually go look at him and look up to him. And it's Steve Carell, so you're just like, oh my God, it's a relatable guy, funny guy.
Yeah.
And then you withdraw to know, no, that's not right. So I think it really is important, in fact, for people who are so relatable to voice themselves this way.
Yeah.
I think as actors, it's a great way of doing it, right?
For sure. On a lighter note, to switch gears completely, coming to your next choice, which again is completely different, which is Sex Education on Netflix. It is sort of such a, we feel like the coming of age genre has kind of been done so much, but this was so refreshing, and it was raunchy and funny and really heartfelt and, also very mature. What do you think it is about this show that's become so popular that it's got so many people connecting to it?
All of the things that you said.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like everything that I think about the show, I feel like it's a very cleverly done teen sex comedy.
Yeah.
And it's very wisely done. And
Yeah.
it's not just that. It's not just coming of age in terms of like girl likes boy.
Yeah.
Then you're exploring. It's not just that. You're exploring your sexuality. You're exploring your relationship with your parents. You're exploring your relationship with your partners, whoever
Yeah.
you want your partner to be. You're exploring, your discovery of your sexuality, and hence the relationship with people with
Yeah.
that in that regard. And it's not so it's explored so many different things, I think, which is what makes it most relevant and relatable.
Yeah.
I think sex education is a show that I was saying that it's probably not female led,
Yeah. But it's
But-
female creator.
but it's a female creator.
Yeah.
And my favorite character in the show is Jean Milburn, the
I was
mother.
just about to ask who your favorite character is.
It's her.
Yeah.
I think she has a certain sense of gravitas and a
Yeah.
certain sense of she's a wacko, but she's so sensitive.
Yeah.
Being like the person that the character that you get introduced to her as somebody who is like, "Arey kya hai ye?" But oh my God, she grows on you, and she's somebody. Especially when you move into the second season, you're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I love this woman so much." It's such a well done show. It's incredible.
Does it make you sort of think back to the sex education people had in this country? I think for most people it was the same. It was shady teacher uncle with a graph. Like it was pretty much that.
Oh my God, I don't think I had any in school because I'll tell you what used to happen, or I don't know if it still happens now. I think conversations are a lot more open and honest.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. But when I was in school, obviously around like 6th standard, 8th standard, 7th standard is when between 6th to 8th standard is when there are these counselors that come to your school and tell you about these things. And what was extremely peculiar for me, हमारे स्कूल में लड़कों को पीटी खेलने भेज दिया जाया करता था और सिर्फ लड़कियां बैठती थी वो काउंसलिंग सेशन के लिए. And I think a few years later I realized why. Like I thought of it and I was like, why can't boys know about it? Because then what happens is they go and secretly Google it, and I know, and then they don't have to be embarrassed or secretive about it anyway. There is no need, and they need to know it. It's not like it's not just for the girls.
I think that's the best thing about the show. It's about accepting the fact that it's okay to accept yourself, to talk about it and be open and not be so weird about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And which is why, like, after watching Sex Education, I was like, I think if anything, show this show in schools.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point here where, because the show doesn't just confront sex, it just goes all in and blows up the topic. Do you think we'll ever get to a point here where we can make something like that in a mature way that's not silly, that really talks about sexuality, or is that like 100 years away?
No, I hope we do. Times are we're all trying to be brave. We're all here, part of the revolution and change, and I think it's upon us. So if we don't make it happen, then it won't happen.
And I also think that it's a great example of what Netflix does best. They tell these stories that are based on the other side of the world, and all of us relate to it. Has that happened with your shows? Like, with anything that you have on Netflix, that people from different places are messaging you saying, this really connected with me?
Little things.
Yeah.
I think it's a global show also because, I mean, I've come to realize that it is. I didn't think of it that way. But it's, but in the most generic sense of it, it is about a relationship.
Yeah.
And how different is a like a generic relationship going to be across
Not very,
Not very much, right? So
yeah.
Recently we found out that it's been dubbed in French.
Wow. Have you seen what you sound like in French? I mean, who they've got
I
dubbing you?
haven't, and then Dhruv ko maine bola, and Dhruv was like, hey, it's actually in French.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite curious. I should go take a look.
And just speaking of shows from the other side of the world that we are obsessed with, it brings us to your next pick, which is, I think, one of the most unique shows that we've ever seen. It doesn't fit into any sort of genre box or bag, which is Fleabag, which really is, this sensation. It's amazing how big and impactful that show is, and there's 12 episodes. That's it. It literally is just that much.
Well, short episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like, it's not draggy. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Is like, it's to the point. I think I'm obsessed with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Like,
yeah.
I'm that person who watches a lot of interviews. I binge on interviews.
Yeah.
I'm like, I make a list of interviews that I've binged on. That also could be a binge list for me.
We can do that next.
That's how much I binge on interviews. And I watched Fleabag, again, came recommended by a very dear friend. And she was like, you must absolutely watch it. And I watched it. I was like, who is this woman? And it's a mixed bag of so many different things. Like, it's dark comedy, it's sexual comedy, it's like, it's a narration of a sad clown.
Yeah.
Like, it's that character. And somewhere amidst all of this, you're just like, she's still relatable in a sense. And it's so weird, because I feel like I want to, like, those questions that get asked to you, who's that one person, alive or dead, you want to have a cup of coffee with? Phoebe Waller-Bridge is that for me. Like, I want to know how her mind functions. Like, it's
what would you ask her?
I don't know. I just want to sit and have a chat with her. I don't know what I'll ask her, but I want to know how she comes up with these things. Like, what is her thought process? What does she talk about? What does she enjoy? What does she like? What does she read? And where is this inspiration to make?
It really is that unique.
It is very unique. It is. She's amazing. I just can't, like, I can't. I mean, she's amazing. She's created the show. She's acting in it. I am sad that I've not watched the live show.
I think it's. I don't think I've ever seen a show where you spend that much time with one character so intimately. Like, after you finish it, you actually miss her. Like, you feel like you've been in her head for so long, and it just feels like something is missing in you. Yeah,
you have been in her head. That is true. Like, you are so invested, and you become one with her, which is just, it's crazy, because it was so weird, and I still haven't figured out how to describe Fleabag to anybody who's
you can't.
Every time I've recommended Fleabag, and they're like, so what is it about? And I'm just like, I don't know. Just watch it for yourself.
You'll see when you see it.
You tell me. I don't know.
Do you think that she ends up with a hot priest? Do you think they get the happy ending?
I hope they do. I was rooting for them. I hope they do. And I think it's such a all the characters are convoluted and conflicted in their own, every single one of them. There is just something about them that is off.
Yeah.
And like Olivia Colman, what
she's such an Indian, like, there's something very Indian about her. There is some mother-in-law thing she's got going.
She is amazing. Also, like, Olivia Colman is
amazing.
It's just so amazing. It's heartwarming. Like, that show is just heartwarming to watch.
And is that something you ever think about? I mean, I know it's sort of early in your career, relatively speaking, but do you ever hope of one day producing and putting projects together yourself?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's very early to say, but especially after watching these things, because I also feel like there's a lot more left to explore. I've barely scratched this. I've not done anything. I'm very new to the industry. So I feel like there's a lot more left to explore. But I feel like if there comes a point where I want to make something happen, I might just be producing it myself.
We look forward to that. And just speaking of Phoebe, I like how we're on a first name basis with her now. But speaking of her, that brings us to our next show, which is Killing Eve, which she also created, which is completely different. It's a story of this mental psychopathic assassin and the agent who's out to sort of, find her, and their weird obsession with each other. It's like cat and mouse thing. What do you make of that relationship? What do you make of those two characters, which is just so interesting and different?
That's another thing. Also, that's the reason why I want to sit with Phoebe Waller-Bridge to understand how how do you do this? Like,
Yeah.
where did this come from? Like, how did you manage to have like an assassin and then and then like a spy, and then both of them being obsessed with each other?
Yeah.
And like, it's unfathomable. I
Yeah.
don't know what that relationship is, and it's yet so intriguing, interesting, and it draws you to it.
Yeah.
And you want to know where this is going. You don't know you can't define it. And I think it's amazing to see that there's a female assassin
Yeah.
driving the entire story.
Yeah.
How often do you get to see that?
Yeah.
And Jodie Comer is just,
Fantastic.
I mean, both of them, Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer. And I think after I finished both the seasons of Killing Eve, again, like I said, I'm an interview binger, so I immediately went and looked her up. And she has a very polished British accent.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, what?
You're not supposed to sound like that.
You're not supposed to sound like that. That's not you.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's just, I don't know how they do it. My God, like, I don't know. It's a show that I can't describe. I can't really describe what I like about it. Okay, maybe I know what I like about it, but not in like.
But there's like an X factor.
Articulate manner.
Yeah.
If I am recommending the show to someone, I can say the most generic things about it, which are already said, that spy and assassin, and their relationship, and how she's chased, like one is chasing the other.
Even if you try and describe that, you sound like a crazy person. Like, do they hate each other? Kind of. Would they kill each other? Maybe. Do they love each other? Probably. Like, there's no, like, how do you even put that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what to make of this relationship. I don't know if I want to define it also for myself to to actually give it some name or definition. So I'm okay with being in that realm of ambiguity. That it's okay if I don't know. Just do what you're doing. I'll just watch you.
Villanelle is such an interesting character. She's sort of a psychopath. She's also weirdly adorable. She's like a kid who likes to kill. There's no way you can explain that. Were you ever tempted to just do something in that space which is just completely different to what you've done?
Before you even finish that question, I do want to do something. In fact, watching Villanelle was like, it was like, oh my God, this is something I totally would like to explore and do.
Yeah.
And it is so interesting. She just wears different, like, I don't think it's the right word, but like it's like a multiple personality.
Yeah, it really is.
Right?
Yeah.
And she just plays them like while you're sitting here, you're going, oh, I want to play this character, that character, I want to be this, and she's just this one person doing everything.
Yeah.
So, and you very, very rightly said, she's cute, like also like weirdly relatable. But will you like, how are you relating to an assassin who's she's a sociopathic person? How are you relating what you do? And I think that's just who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is, and that's just how she functions. And this is my reason number 308 to actually sit there and just have a conversation with her.
We will start a campaign to get you to meet her. It's really interesting. I think it is because of Killing Eve that I think she then got hired to write the Bond film, the next Daniel Craig film, which is amazing. I mean, that's something that you not really rarely hear, and we really look forward to seeing what she does with that. But thank you. This was wonderful. It was so cool to sort of talk about your list. Like I said, it's such a fun list, and I'm really glad that we got to discuss them.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Hi, you guys. This is Mithila Palkar, and this was my binge list, and I cannot wait to add more to it. But if you like this video, you go and like it and share it and subscribe to Film Companion.